The man who said he was my Uber. I was tying trash bags with hands that smelled like lemon degreaser when the ballroom lights went half dark and the DJ finally killed the last bass drop. It was 12:41 a.m. The River Point Hotel's loading bay. Breathed out cold river air and my back wanted to file a complaint. Friday wedding. We'd fed 200 people chicken and mushroom sauce and watched 3 uncles do the worm. My catering polo had a constellation of butter freckles that wouldn't come out even if I scrubbed with holy water. "Text me when you get your ride," Dion said, snapping a Cambro lid. He'd worked doubles all week and still moved like he had extra joints. They put a freaking maze in these service corridors. "I'm good," I said. I called a car. "Don't do the I'm good thing," he said, pointing a tongs at me. "We do the buddy system after midnight, Bennett's orders." Ms. Bennett, our manager, popped her head in like her name was a summoning spell. "Rules exist because men do," she said. "Who's walking Lila to the curb?" "I got it," Dion said. 2 minutes. We stacked glass racks. We blessed the dish pit. The hallway hummed with the tired electric of a building that had hosted too many promises. I pulled my hoodie on under my coat, slid my phone into the front pocket, and texted my sister. Done. Heading home. She replied with 3 confetti emojis and then, "Uber? Plate ends in 53K? "Yeah," I typed back. She works nights in dispatch. She likes plates the way other people like birthdays. The service elevator groaned open. The floor numbers did their slow orange climb. In the mirror, I looked like a person who lived on coffee and trays and secondhand shoes. When the doors opened to the loading bay, the air slapped me with that wet steel smell the river wears. The valet stand out front flashed its orange cone light. A bus sighed out on Water Street. The bay itself was a long rectangle of concrete, dumpsters lined like couches nobody sits on, a single camera bubble with dust on it, and a sign that said staff only in a font that begged to be ignored. Dion looked both ways like a crossing guard. "You shouldn't have to do this," he said. "The world should be better." "Buddy," I said, exhausted. "It ain't." We stepped out. The hotel's front drive was to the right, bright with velvet rope swagger and a heater mushroom glowing like a UFO. To the left, the alley led to the employee lot, and beyond that, the side street where ride shares always got confused. My app pinged. "Your driver is 3 minutes away. Silver Camry. 9X 53K. Plates end in 53K, I told Dion, showing him the screen. "Driver's name Troy." "Copy," he said. "I'll do the Dion hover until you're rolling." We passed the dumpsters. A rat skittered and both of us chose to pretend we hadn't seen it. Down on water, a silver Camry turned the corner too fast, tapped a puddle, and slid to a stop in the mouth of the alley. The headlights washed us out. The driver leaned across and popped the locks. He had a baseball cap pulled low and that clean, unbothered posture men grow when they're used to telling rooms what to do. "Lila," he called, voice bright, as if I were a latte he'd mispronounced once but learned now because he cared. "Yo," Dion said under his breath. "Check the plate." The plate read, N9X 35K. My chest did a small, stupid stutter, numbers my brain wanted to forgive because they were cousins. 35K, 53K. Close enough your tired eyes might feel generous. "That's not it," I said. "You're flipped." I kept my voice friendly. Women are taught to bring out the customer service voice when the world feels like a complaint line. The driver laughed, small and easy. "Nah, that's my temp," he said. He held up his phone so I could see a rideshare app glowing blue-green. The name on the screen said Lila in neat caps, my address underneath like a dare. The avatar was a circle with a road icon. The plate shown on his screen matched his metal. "It doesn't always sync," he said. "You coming?" "It's freezing." Dion leaned in, not smiling. "Bennett says we don't get in cars unless all 3 match," he said. Name, face, plate. The driver tipped his chin, amused. "You Bennett?" "I'm the guy between you and her," Dion said. The driver made his mouth a sympathetic line. "Man, I get it," he said. "I got sisters. I'm just trying to help her get home." He slid the app away, and the light smoothed his face into soft nothing. "I'll pull around to the front, if that's better," he said. Already easing the car deeper into the alley, nose angling like a shoulder into a crowd. "Front," Dion said. "We'll meet you there." He touched my elbow and we pivoted. Behind us, a whistle, simple 2 notes, threaded the damp. It wasn't his. It came from the valet stand where a young guy in a beanie had his hands shoved deep in his vest. He nodded once, small and sharp, and mouthed, "Plate." I held up my screen. He pointed at his eyes and then at the Camry, a universal sign for, "We see you." The Camry idled, then rolled out slow enough to look polite. "Text me when you're in," Dion said at the hotel doors. "I'll tell Bennett you left." "Go," I said. "You look like a skeleton with rent due," he grinned. "That's my brand." Inside, the lobby's heat hugged too hard. People in suits performed being happy at a bar that wanted to be New York and wasn't. Ms. Bennett stood with a clipboard like a weapon. "Plate?" she asked. I showed her. "Driver says temp mismatched." "Then it's not your driver," she said, gold hoops catching light. "Valet out there owes me a lunch. I'll ask him to keep eyes." My app pinged offbeat like a heart that tripped. New message. "I'm at the curb." The app said the car had arrived. The little map dot blinked at the front drive, exactly where I was. But there was no silver Camry under the heater mushroom, no man with a cap, no 53K. The only car in the lane was a black SUV with a wedding decal and a driver who looked like a tired uncle. I canceled. The penalty stung. I ordered again. Another driver, a woman named Kendra, minivan, plate 4PC 712. 4 minutes. "Good," Bennett said. "Girl drivers know girl math." I went back outside alone like a little rebellion. The valet beanie nodded at me, slid me a glance like, "You saw that too, right?" I nodded back. The minivan turned the corner, slow and sure. Plate matched. The driver's face matched. She rolled down the window and grinned the grin I give on my best days. "Lila?" "That's me," I said, opening the door. A car horn chirped behind us, 2 fast taps. I looked back without wanting to. The silver Camry idled across the street, half in the bus stop. The driver had his window down and his cap lower, chin tucked like a turtle. He lifted 2 fingers in a lazy salute. The minivan driver followed my eyes, then said, mild, "I'll wait till you're buckled." We pulled away. I watched the Camry in the mirror. He didn't follow. Or he did and turned off before I could make it into something. Maybe he was none of my business and I was all of his. At home, my block smelled like wet concrete and the promise of dumpster day. I texted Dion. "In," he replied, with 3 biceps and the word green, which on our worker chat means eyes on Sue. I brushed my teeth like I was trying to insult plaque. I told myself I was safe and then listened to the pipes like they were men practicing manners. I slept badly anyway. Saturday afternoon, Ms. Bennett called a quick staff meeting in the dry storage room because the ballroom was booked by a corporate thing that used the phrase synergy without irony. "New rules," she said. "After midnight, no one leaves alone. You text the name and plate to the group before you get in. You check our own list. Valet is logging plates at the curb. If a driver says the app is wrong, the driver is wrong. Say it with me." We did. "The driver is wrong." "I'll walk you," Dion told me that night, because schedules had a sense of humor and I had another close. It was a bar mitzvah this time. The kid did a better speech than most grown-ups. We rolled Cambros and stacked racks, and at 12:32 we steered toward the bay like 2 very tired tugboats. The alley felt thicker, like the air had been stored and reheated. Fog sat low. My app pinged, "Driver, Chris, Gray Accord, 7 Mar, 853. "Chris," I said aloud. 853. Dayon squinted toward Water Street where a gray Accord was already turning. "Front?" he asked. "Front," I said. We didn't make it to the front. Halfway down the bay, the side door near the linen cage opened and a man stepped out like he'd always had a key. Black windbreaker. Cap. He carried his phone face out so I could see a blue-green glow with my name on it. Lila? He said, pleasant. His plate wasn't in my eyes yet. He wasn't in a car. He was in a hallway with the river behind his voice. My body did that weird two-step where survival and retail training try to dance. You can meet me at the front, I said. Easier this way, he said. It's raining. It wasn't, not yet, but the air promised. I'm right here. The pin is funky. He had my name. He had my building. He had patience. He wasn't moving like a man. He was moving like a solution you didn't know you needed. Dion stepped half in front of me. We go to the valet, he said. The man smiled, as if we were playing the game correctly. I was told to pick up at the dock, he said. Banquet staff. He tilted his phone. The name Lila glowed. Under it, my destination. The app looked like an app until you looked longer. The font was a degree off. The map had the wrong gas station at the corner that had been a Dunkin' since 2019. The little emo in the info button was just wrong enough to make your nerves do the whisper. I'm good, I said. We'll walk. He nodded, the way people do when they're checking how far your rope goes. No problem, he said. I'll pull around. He didn't go back inside. He ghosted along the wall, matching our pace by not moving at all. And by the time we stepped into the front drive, the gray Accord had slid in behind the heater mushroom. Burr-30. Plate's wrong, I said. He watched my mouth as I said it like he was lip-reading for a test. Temp, he said, same line. He lifted a hand toward the valet to say, we're good here. The valet, Beanie, looked at him, looked at us, and shook his head. Not a big no, a surgical one. Lila, a woman's voice called, and the minivan from last night glided in. Plate B4PC712. Window down, ponytail in a baseball cap. You want me again? Yes, I said, louder than I meant. Yes, ma'am. The man in black's smile thinned but didn't leave. He let us pass in front of his bumper with the courtesy of a snake yielding a warm rock. The minivan door thunked. I got in. Dion leaned over and told the driver, take the long way. He's gonna try to pace. She did. He didn't follow. Or he did for a block and decided we weren't worth the gas. In the mirror, his face was a cap brim and an idea. Sunday morning, a screenshot went around our group chat. A city alert. Police warn of the imposter rideshare drivers targeting hospitality workers near River Point. The story said 3 incidents. No assaults, lots of misunderstandings. It said to check plates. It said to trust your instincts like instincts were a weather app. Bennett printed the alert and taped it to the back of the loading bay door. She added a handwritten line. If they say they're here for you, but the plate isn't, they're not. Under it she wrote, smaller. Noise saves. Monday, my niece's school called at 6 because the power went out, and the aftercare needed pickups early. I swapped shifts. I did homework at the kitchen table while a 3rd grader sounded out economy, like it was a brand of cereal. At 9:52, I put her to bed and my sister texted, don't take a car alone this week. Promise, I typed back, promise. Then, I'll ask Bennett to move me to Opens Tuesday. The hotel hosted a tech conference with blew-up lights and people wearing lanyards like mood rings. The night ended later than it should have. Dion had a dentist appointment at 8 in the morning. He bailed. Ms. Bennett got pulled into a room level with a guest who wanted gluten-free vodka, which is not a thing. I stood in the service corridor holding a tub of salt shakers and felt the world tilt minutely toward a version where I said, I'm fine, and walked out alone. I did not. I stuck my head into the kitchen and said, Yo, chef, walk me? Chef Lynn glanced up from labeling hotel pans. 2 minutes, she said, and handed me a Sharpie. Write big so the universe sees it. We pushed the salt shakers into dry storage and headed for the dock. The light on the camera bubble was out. The cone at the valet stand had no glow. The river air had the taste of pennies. Text your plate, chef said. Say the word if it feels off. We got a word? I asked, surprised. Yellow, she said. Means eyes on, come outside. My app says 4PC712. Again, I said and laughed, relief loud in my chest. It's the same woman. Good, chef said. Women know the math. We were 20 feet from the street when a silver Camry slid across the mouth of the alley and stopped in a way that made the night feel like it had been edited. The window rolled down. Cap brim, pleasant voice. Lila? My body flinched before my brain did. He had a different car now. Or he made the Camry his personality. Plate Pub 7H153, wrong in a new way. Yellow, I said out loud, and Chef was already texting. Ma'am, he said, tone dipped in politeness like a candy that hides medicine. You canceled on me twice. I'm trying to complete the trip. You're not my driver, I said. I'm whoever shows up, he said, and something in that sentence leaned its elbow on my good sense. Don't make a scene. I took one step forward, not toward him, but toward the space where the scene would be. That's the point, I said. I want a scene. The valet door banged open with a noise like a pan dropped on tile. Beanie and another kid I hadn't met hustled out, phones in hand. The heater mushroom bloomed back to life as if a hand had slapped it awake. From the revolving door, Ms. Bennett came out at a walk so quick it was an accusation. Sir, she said, calm as church. You're blocking our fire lane. I'm waiting on a guest, he said pleasantly. She's not your guest, Bennett said. She lifted her own phone, took a picture of his plate with a flash that made his face look like a blank space, then took a picture of his face at an angle and a second one straight on. The man's smile didn't move, but his mouth got smaller. You got no right to public curb, she said. Couple of us pay taxes. She raised her voice without making it a shout, that old trick of women with rules and rooms. Chris! She called to a random point beyond him like she was summoning a dog. He glanced reflex. Everyone named Chris glances when a woman with a clipboard says it like that. In the half-second his attention slid. The minivan fishtailed in behind us, and my driver leaned on her horn for one long note that sounded like a sentence. The Camry jolted. He flicked his eyes to me, then to Bennett, then to Beanie, then to the cone. The math didn't land. He lifted 2 fingers again, that lazy salute, and rolled out of the mouth of the alley without ever admitting the scene belonged to us. The valet kids clapped once each, soft. Bennett exhaled through her nose like a kettle finishing the job. Chef Lynn wrote something on the whiteboard by the dock. Call plate, call name, call face. Under it, in smaller pen, noise saves, and when yellow means come outside. Thanks, I told the minivan driver when we were rolling. She shrugged like this was laundry. I'm on the hotel circuit, she said. We talk, we watch. Then after a block. That app on his screen? Not the right font. I laughed like a person who'd finally figured out how a magician's trick worked and was still mad he'd done it in the first place. I hated him for being off by a little, I admitted. That's their thing, she said. They're never wrong. They're just off by a little. On Thursday, a bridesmaid in a dress built like a secret came downstairs alone at 1:10, hairpins losing their religion, phone dead. My ride's outside, she told me, and pushed a crash bar. The alley yawned. A silver car's headlamps glanced off the dumpster lids. Plate? I asked. She blinked like I'd asked her GPA. I don't know. It's Troy. Nope, I said. And her mouth did that defensive thing we do when we feel like we've failed a test no one told us we were taking. We'll walk you to the front, I said. We do a yellow. What's that? Means eyes on, I said. Means you don't have to be a one-woman show. We hit the valet. The clerk checked the spiral. No Troy, he said. The silver car across the street dipped forward like a runner faking a start. Bennett snapped a photo without looking like she was snapping and said into her phone, Yes, hi, non-emergency. River Point has another one. The car drifted away like a promise he'd keep with someone else. The bridesmaid hugged me after she got into a woman's Corolla. You saved me, she whispered into my shoulder. No, I said. We saved you. I pointed at the beanie, at Bennett, at Chef through the glass, at the minivan idling with a driver who had a ponytail that meant business. All of us. That night, when I got home, I wrote the word yellow on an index card and taped it inside my wallet next to my health insurance card like it was a talisman. I texted my sister and Dion. Here's the part where I tell you the cops sent me a still of his face and it matched a list, and a judge said his name into a room and the room got quiet. That didn't happen. What I have instead is a better choreography. When the door between me and danger is my mouth, I use it. When the math in a man's smile is off by a little, I count out loud. When the app font is wrong, I say so. When the alley makes itself bigger than me, I make the scene mine. Friday turned into Saturday and we did another wedding. The band played the same Bruno Mars medley, That Refuses to Die. At 12:38 a.m., Dion stuck his head in the loading bay and said, Walk? Yeah, I said. I showed him the plate. I said the driver's name out loud. We stepped into the river air, both of us already counting the numbers we would check and the faces we would match. A silver car idled too far back to be polite. The valet cone glowed like a small moon. The minivan turned the corner right on time. "Lila?" the driver called. "That's me," I said. Behind us, a two-note whistle tried to thread the night. I didn't look. I lifted my phone. "Yellow," I said, just to exercise the word. And 3 heads turned in the lobby and a beanie moved and Ms. Bennett raised her camera like a sacrament. The silver car rolled the other way, slow, like a tide that had learned manners. We climbed in. Dion tapped the roof like people do in movies. The heater mushroom hissed. The river smelled like pennies and rain and something that could be tomorrow. I buckled, breathed, felt my shoulders drop 1 inch. "Everything good?" the driver asked. "With y'all?" I said. "Yeah." And when the hotel shrank in the mirror and the minivan's turn signal ticked its patient metronome, I finally let the night be quiet without making me small. And that's how the whole block came together to stop her. Real evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it smiles right at you. Ready for the next one? Because this next story proves that even a simple laundromat at 2 a.m. can become a hunting ground. This one is called He followed me home after drinking. I only meant to grab sponges and a cheap birthday bag in and out 20 minutes tops. Rent was due Friday. My checking app looked like a desert. And the Dollar King at the end of Maple had the kind of fluorescent mercy that keeps you believing you can make it another week. The sign buzzed. The automatic doors breathed me into warm air that smelled like plastic and lemon cleaner. Rain tapped the glass like an impatient friend. "Yo, you good?" the cashier called without looking up. He had a hoodie under his vest and a Band-Aid on his thumb. Somewhere in the back, a radio mumbled weather. I texted my sister Tori, grabbing sponges, need anything? And she hit me back with 3 words. Paper towels, Pauls. I moved down the aisles with my basket, the wobble wheel snicking rhythm under the hum of lights. I liked stores at this hour. You could hear your own shoes. You could pretend the world wasn't noisy and expensive. That's when I saw him. Mid-40s maybe. Green sweater pilled at the sleeves, dress pants like he'd slept in them, a bottle of beer in one hand and another peeking from his pocket like a secret. He was leaned up against the end cap of dog toys, taking slow pulls and watching the ceiling like it was a game he might win. I snorted under my breath. The store didn't sell beer. The stock girl beat me to it. "Sir, you can't do that in here," she said, tired nice. "You gotta take that outside." He smiled like a dare. "I ain't hurting nobody." His eyes did a quick count of the room. Me, a couple browsing batteries, the cashier, the door. He took another drink, "Sir." The stock girl held the line longer than she should have, then called, "Kev?" The cashier lifted his head, took in the situation and sighed. He came around the counter, palms out. They did the polite dance. The man rolled his eyes, pushed off the shelf, and walked out with that swagger men wear when they think the world owes them applause. I grabbed sponges, paper towels, a roll of birthday wrap with little gold stars that caught the light. At checkout, Kev said, "Party on a budget, huh?" And I said, "Story of my life." We grinned like coworkers even though we weren't. Outside, the rain had turned mean. I tucked the bag under my jacket and started the 3-block walk home. Maple Street at 9:30 is not dangerous. It's just empty. You can hear the city bus groan a mile away. You can hear your thoughts do backflips. Half a block down near the blue mailbox that leans like it's given up correcting people's zip codes, someone whistled. A simple 2-note thing. I looked up out of pure reflex and there he was. The green sweater, the sad dress pants, beer bottle lifted in a toast. He was posted under the burnt-out streetlight like he lived there. I kept moving. He stepped out, paced me on the sidewalk. "How you doing, sweetheart?" He said, that word slurred just enough to feel like a grubby thumbprint. "I'm fine." I didn't make eye contact. I learned that the hard way at 19 with a man who taught me the cost of polite smiles. "Have a good night," he laughed low. "You don't even know me yet." "I don't need to." "You got smart mouth." He sped up half a step so he could drift into my eye line. "Where you headed?" "I'll walk you." "No thanks." The bottle clinked against his ring. He smelled like wet wool and wintergreen gum. See, when a man offers, the nice thing is you say yes. "I don't know you," I said. "Back off." He grinned at the words back off like they were foreplay. "Oh, I ain't a problem. Ask anybody. I live right there." He jutted his chin toward a dark second-floor window above the laundromat. Everybody knows me. I glanced across the street. The laundromat lights were still on. The old guy who runs it, Mr. Ortiz, was sweeping, back bent, headphones on. I thought about crossing, about going in and killing 10 minutes, but that would mean admitting out loud that I was scared. My mother, God rest her, trained me to finish what I started and not feed men the idea that they can change your path. He reached out and tapped my shoulder like we were at a bar. The touch was quick, but it set all the alarms in me ringing. I stepped away. Don't touch me. Damn. He held up a hand like I'd offended him. I'm saying hello. Keep walking, I said. To myself, I added, don't run. Running is permission. Running is a chase. We passed the pawn shop with the dusty saxophone in the window. The neon guitar blinked steady like a metronome. The rain worked itself into my collar. He took another drink, swallowed, and whispered, I can make sure you get home safe. I'm 2 blocks, I said. Safe is a straight line. You got a boyfriend? I almost said yes. I said no, a choice, maybe dumb. But I refused to keep inventing men to ward off men. Oh, he said, brightening with a kid's Christmas morning joy. Then I could. No, I said. You couldn't. I kept my voice low and flat. It's how I talk to the middle schoolers in the aftercare program when they're testing boundaries. Calm as a rope you can throw across a gap. He laughed. It came out cracked. You think you're something, he said. I see you buying those cheap gifts. I see all you dollar queens. Okay, I said. We're done talking. He kept on anyway like men do. What's your name? Don't be rude. You smell good, you know that? Sweet, like I said stop. I put my hand up in his face. It surprised him, how close my palm came to his mouth. He tipped his head back a fraction, then smiled. Slow, mean. You ain't gotta act brand new, he said softly. He moved closer, subtle, shoulder almost brushing mine. We neighbors. At the corner by the dental office with the peeling tooth decal, I heard a bus sighing to a stop behind me. The 12 line running late. The doors wheezed open and nobody got off. I stuck my arm out without looking, and the driver leaned on the horn like a referee whistle. The man beside me flinched. A woman with a tote bag leaned toward the windshield and mouthed, You good? I nodded just barely because the instinct to avoid drama is strong as hunger. She stared another second, then the bus hissed and pulled away, taillights smearing. See? He said, nobody cares. Somebody does, I said. Me. He laughed again, loud like a dog bark. You're funny. We hit my block. The porches are shallow and close together. Row houses where you can smell other people's dinners and hear their fights. Mr. Ortiz's cousin sits on his steps most nights with a crossword. Tonight the chair was empty. My keys were a wet weight in my pocket. I pictured fumbling at my lock while his breath slipped into the space by my ear. Last chance, he said softly. Let me walk you up, I stopped. He stopped, surprised. I turned to face him in the cone of the one working streetlight like a stage we hadn't asked for. Listen, I said. Take your beer and go home. He smiled like a blade turning sideways. Make me. It took everything not to step back. No, I said, and then, because there's a point where you perform for safety and there's a point where you pick up your own damn mic. I added loud, Hey, anybody around? My voice carried. Lights flicked on like birds startled into flight. One window, then 2. A kid's head appeared behind a blind. Mr. Ortiz's door opened and he squinted out, broom in hand. Across the street, the lady with the porch plants cracked her screen door. The man's face changed, a fast shutter closing. He wasn't ready to share an audience. You crazy, he murmured. He reached for me anyway, a last petty grab, hand closing on my jacket sleeve. Get off me, I said, and jerked. The sleeve gave and his bottle slipped, shattered on the sidewalk. The wet glass made the rain look like it had teeth. Hey, Mr. Ortiz barked, already crossing, broom up like a staff. You, move along! The man let go and did that huffy little dance cowards do right before they run. She trippin', he said to nobody in particular. And then he was gone, down the block, around the corner, into the same empty night he'd crawled out of. The smell of beer stayed, sour and cheap. Mr. Ortiz stopped 2 steps from me. You okay? He asked, breathing hard. His broom was ridiculous and somehow exactly right. I'm okay, I said. My hands were shaking so bad I had to hide them in my pockets. Thank you. You bang on my window next time, he said. Don't be polite. Copy that. He looked at the broken glass, shook his head, and muttered something in Spanish that I didn't need translated. The plant lady called, "You want me to phone it in?" And I said, "I got it," because I needed to hear myself call. Inside my apartment, I slid the deadbolt and leaned my head against the cool wood like in movies. My place smelled like lavender cleaner and the sweet damp of a building that always feels a little like a basement. I dialed non-emergency and gave the details. The dispatcher said, "We'll send a car through," and I said, "Thanks," because thank you is a reflex even when you don't get anything for it. Tori called 3 times. On the third, I picked up. "Don't yell," I said, preemptive. "I'm not yelling." She was absolutely yelling. "You okay?" "I'm okay," I told her the short version. She got real quiet when I said the sleeve part. "You want me to come over?" She asked. "Yeah," I said. "I do." She arrived with a bag like she always does, ginger ale, pretzels, her old pepper spray that probably expired in 2018. She put the spray on my counter like a gift and said, "You should carry this anyway." Then she looked at my face and said, "You did good." "I hate that I had to," I said. "Welcome to being a girl in America," she said, dry as kindling. Then softer, "You did good. You made noise." I slept badly. Every street noise was his shoes. The radiator clanked and I sat up like a shot. My sleeve, ripped at the cuff, felt like a small crime scene. Around 4, I got up and taped a note to my door. No soliciting. No men with beer. The joke wasn't funny, but it made me feel like I'd put a hand on the steering wheel again. 2 days later, a cop called to say they picked up a guy matching the description, hassling women outside the bus depot. "We can't tie it to your incident," he said, "but we're making contact." I thanked him because I'm trying to be a person who thanks civil servants even when the world's on fire. I changed small things. I stopped pretending I liked empty streets more than busy ones. I texted Mr. Ortiz when I walked past so he could lean on his broom like a ridiculous sentinel. I set a group chat with neighbors. Maple Eyes. Rules were simple. If someone typed the word green, everybody looked. When I cut through the laundromat to avoid the corner by the mailbox, Mr. Ortiz nodded at me like a coach and pretended not to notice I stayed until another customer came in. A week later, I saw the man again, daytime, sober or good at it. He stood outside the corner bar in a crisp white shirt like he had peeled himself a new skin. He met my eye for a half second, smiled, and lifted his hands as if to say, "We're civil now." Then he raised 2 fingers to his mouth and made that same 2-note whistle. I didn't look away. I tapped my phone screen without breaking eye contact. Mr. Ortiz stepped out of the laundromat like a sketch artist cop with a broom holstered at his side. 2 kids from the plant lady's building paused their scooters in the street, watching me the way kids watch adults when they're trying to learn the rules. The man's smile collapsed. He turned, went inside, became the room's problem. That night, Tori helped me hang a motion light above my stoop. We laughed measuring with a spaghetti box because neither of us owns a ruler. When it clicked on against the dark, the brightness shocked the moths and both of us stepped back, hands up. "This neighborhood ain't bad," Tori said, satisfaction edging her voice. "It just needs better choreography." "Same," I said. "Me too." The next time I walked to the Dollar King, I used the long way. I bought sponges and another birthday bag, even though I didn't need it yet. Kev said, "Back again?" And I said, "Guess I live here." And he said, "We all do, buddy." Like a benediction. I don't have a neat ending for you. He didn't do time. He didn't confess. He didn't turn into a monster with yellow eyes. He stayed a man, which is its own horror, ordinary, repeatable. But now when I walk home, I know the places where my voice bounces best. I know which windows light fast and which doors open. I know the bus drivers on the 12 by name. And when I hear a whistle, I don't shrink. I look for my people. The light flips on. Mr. Ortiz lifts the broom. The kids pivot their scooters like a cavalry. I'm not 12, I told my sister that first night, trying to be brave alone. I don't say that now. I say, "Walk with me," and when someone asks, "You good?" I answer, "With you, yeah." The street is still empty sometimes. The beer smell still finds me in the weirdest corners, like a memory you didn't agree to keep. But the motion light clicks on when I hit the first step, and that matters. The world wants you quiet and smaller than the sidewalk. I'm practicing being exactly my size in the open. If you need a rule, here's mine. When the door between you and danger is your mouth, make the biggest sound you can afford. Sometimes the night answers back, and that's how the whole block came together to stop her. Real evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it smiles right at you. Ready for the next one? Because this next story proves that even a simple laundromat at 2 a.m. can become a hunting ground. This one is called The Fake Security Guard in the Basement. I only went back for tape and a fresh marker, 2 minutes tops. I'd finished my shift at the print shop on Elm at 10:06 p.m., killed the lights, locked the roll-up, and was halfway to the bus when my sister texted, "Pilaus label the donation boxes before morning. Pastor will freak." The church basement we share sits across the alley from the shop, and if Pastor Lou freaks, the whole block hears it. So I turned around. The alley air had that cold metal bite you taste more than smell. Somewhere a siren did the long, tired moan that means it's far away. The only light came from the print shop's exit sign ghosting through the blinds and the church's motion lamp that never turns on when you want it, only when a possum waddles by. My breath looked like cigarette smoke when I exhaled. "Text me when you're inside," Jay had said earlier, the way he always does on nights I'm closing. "And don't do anything heroic." "You ain't Batman." "I'm not," I told him. "I'm broke." The church door stuck like it always does, paint peeling at the jamb where people kick it instead of asking for the key. Inside, the basement smelled like old coffee, rubber tubs, and the lemon cleaner we water down. Fluorescents buzzed. The concrete floor held the last of the day's heat. Metal chairs were stacked in uneven towers. I heard the last bus on Elm wheeze and roll. On the folding table we use for donations, I found exactly what I needed. The fat black Sharpie, the tape, and one box already labeled winter coats in my own handwriting from last week. I clicked the pen, wrote shoes 810 on a fresh strip of tape, and pressed it to a tub of sneakers. I was muttering to myself, not heroic, just helpful. When the motion light under the staircase flicked on, I wasn't under the staircase. I froze with the tape in my hand and listened. In old basements, even nothing has a sound. Refrigerator hum, the tick of cooling pipes. This was different. The soft shift of weight on wood. A careful heel to toe like someone practicing not to be heard. "Hello?" I said, because I am a woman and we've been trained to apologize to darkness. The light went off, then on again like a wink. My scalp prickled. I picked up the aluminum yardstick we used to fish things from the tops of shelves and told myself I was ridiculous. My phone buzzed. "Shambus at 10:20, you make it?" I typed, "Grabbing tape for church." 2 minutes. "Don't freak." He wrote back one word. "Kendra." And then the typing bubble stalled, restarted, stalled. I walked toward the staircase because of course I did. My boots made small honest sounds. The light timed out again. Something exhaled on the other side of the stairs. I felt it hit my cheek, warm, stale, like breath behind a mask. "Pastor?" I said, "And Tori, we keep spare keys under the second step. If you grew up here, you know that. Silence has weight." The basement felt suddenly too full, the way a bus does right before the game lets out. My hand found the chain on the overhead pull. I yanked. The light came up harder, humming like a threat. Nothing under the stairs but a mop, the vacuum, and a rolled-up rug with duct tape around its belly. The tape looked fresh. I towed the rug. It was heavy like carpet and something more. I didn't think about that longer than a heartbeat because a small chime sounded by the side door, the kind our landlord installed to make Pastor feel more secure. I didn't touch the side door. The chime means someone else did. The door handle jiggled once, twice. Stopped. "Okay," I said, backing toward the office where the landline is. The hallway there is painted mint green, a color that should be calming and isn't. My phone buzzed again, Jay calling. "You good?" He said. "I don't know," I whispered. "What's that mean, you don't know?" "I think somebody's at the side door," I said. "And the stair light keeps—" The side door opened with that soft, guilty sigh old doors do when someone knows how to coax them. A shape filled the doorway. Tall, blocky, shoulders too square to be casual. He wore a security jacket with a patch that said East Side Facilities, the kind you can buy online. Cap pulled low enough to make his face a rumor. He had a ring of keys so fat it could anchor a boat. On a lanyard, an elevator key gleamed like a promise. "We closed," I said, "because the stupidest part of me wants everything to be normal if I talk normal." "Ma'am," he said, voice even. "You belong here?" "I work the print shop," I said. "We share this basement." I didn't ask how he got a key. Some of us are slow learners. "Got a call about alarms glitching," he said. "You pastor's girl?" "No."
Heat flooded my face at the word girl.
I'm Kendra, you? He smiled just enough not to be friendly. Gable, he said. Only then did the motion light go on by the stair again, as if to say, yes, this is the part where you watch both doors and learn your math. I lifted the yardstick an inch. You good? Jay said through my phone, tinny in my ear. Maintenance, I said, too bright. He says alarms. You call Lou? Jay asked. Don't let random men. Gable touched his ear like he had an earpiece. He didn't. Dispatch says there's been trouble in basements like these, he said, stepping in far enough to swing the door shut with his heel. We've been moving folks to safer spots till we clear them. We're fine, I said, even though my thighs had gone to water. We're 2 blocks from a precinct. 2 blocks is enough, he said mildly. You got a back elevator, right? Old service car that opens on the alley. We did. Nobody but Pastor and Mr. Salazar, the landlord, used it. It opened off the basement hallway with a shutter and a smell like rain in a garage. I'll walk you up, Gable said. The evenness of his tone felt practiced, like a script somebody else wrote. He glanced at my phone and smiled just with his teeth. You can hang up, ma'am. I'm right here. Stay, I whispered to Jay and hit mute. He texted, on my way. Gable's keys jangled softly, a lullaby. He moved toward the elevator as if we'd agreed. As he passed the donation table, his jacket brushed a cardboard box. The box shifted. I saw what lay underneath the top layer of scarves. A pile of folded men's caps, all black, each with a patch sewn crookedly on. Little cross-hatched squares like fence wire. We don't take hats? I blurted. His smile didn't change. We take care, he said, like it was a slogan. He slid the elevator gate and tapped his big silver key into the control box. The car opened with a sigh. A memory cut across my brain like a floodlight. Last winter, when Kiara went missing from the shelter on 3rd. The only camera that saw anything showed a man in a crisp security jacket walking her toward a staff door. People in uniforms don't get asked questions. The internet fought for 3 days about whether he was real security or a man who wanted to be. After you, Gable said, tipping his chin to the elevator. He stood close enough that I could smell his breath. Sweet in a way mouths aren't unless there's sickness or candy sucked too long. The yardstick slid a little in my hand. My palm had gone slick. No, I said. He didn't blink. Ma'am, he said, gentle now. Don't make me call this in. You do that, I said. I'll wait. He studied me the way a teacher studies a kid who just solved the hard problem out loud. The edge of his smile thinned. You from here? He asked. The way people say it when what they mean is, you know the rules. Yes, I said. And I'm not getting into a box with you. His eyes flicked to the stairwell. He didn't move his head. I didn't look. I listened. Under the hum and tick, another sound stacked itself. The smallest scrape, like rubber on concrete. Someone else was here and trying to be the idea of a shadow. Buddy, Jay said through the phone I'd forgotten to unmute. I'm close. Make noise, I inhaled. I put 2 fingers under my tongue the way my uncle taught me, and blew the ugliest whistle I could make. It bounced off the cinder block, hooked itself under the fluorescence, and dragged down the hallway like a saw. Gable flinched and then weirdly smiled wider, like he liked that I had a role. Okay, he said softly, turning his palms up as if I'd asked for something and he wanted to show his were empty. Okay, Kendra. He stepped backward into the elevator, still facing me. He used the key with a muscle flick. The gate jerked. The car slid down so smooth I almost didn't hear it. The numbers above the door didn't light. He'd killed them. The little chime stayed dark. If that car opened in the alley, I wouldn't see it. I backed toward the office and picked up the landline. It rang once, and Pastor answered on the 3rd like he'd been sitting in the dark next to it. Who died? He said, gravel thick, don't freak, I said and told him. I heard the sound fear makes when a man swallows it. Stay on, he said. I'm coming from upstairs. Lock yourself in the office now. I didn't want to. The office has no second door. But staying in the open hallway felt like sitting in the middle of a road and hoping the car decided not to be a car tonight. I turned the lock. My hands shook so hard the key scratched the paint. Footsteps came from the stairwell, fast, then halting, then fast again.
Kendra?
Pastor called. Open. Say the thing, I said through the door, because Miss D taught all of us church babies the trick where your people have a code. If they didn't know it, they weren't your people. God is good, he said without missing, and I cracked the door, then opened it fully when I saw his pale blue windbreaker, and the way his left shoe always squeaks. We didn't get to hug because a soft ding sounded behind him. The elevator. I saw it in Pastor's glasses, someone stepping out, cap low, hands gloved. He hadn't taken the jacket off. He'd just changed the face inside it. He moved like Gable and also not. He moved like someone wearing Gable's words. "Office," I whispered. Pastor backed in, turned, grabbed the heavy metal filing cabinet with both hands and slid it to wedge the door. The casters sang. The door thudded. The handle turned once from the outside and kept turning. Smooth, unbothered. "Call 911, Pastor said. His voice shook only the way railroad tracks tremble when a train is still miles off. I did, I lied, because I wanted his hands to keep doing brave things. I hit the button then, speaker on. The operator came up warm and slow. I gave the address like a child says their phone number, clear and too loud. "He's in a uniform," I said. "He has keys. Is he a known employee?" The operator asked. "No," I said too fast. "Someone else?" Pastor said, eyes on the door. "Listen." From the hall, a low voice, "Don't be dramatic. We're trying to keep you safe." A second voice, higher, young, threading through it. "Come on, ma'am, it's late. We'll take you home." The younger one sounded almost bored, maybe hungry. You can hear hunger in men even when they don't talk about food. "Jay?"
I yelled because fear makes you messy.
"If you're outside, bang loud." From above us, through the register vents, a frantic pounding started. The church's heavy oak front doors taking a beating from someone who loved me. Pastor's eyes leaked in relief. "Good," he said. "Make them pick." The handle turned again. A click like a tongue. A key tried the wrong way, then the right. My heart jumped and then sat back down when the filing cabinet held like a stubborn mule. "We can wait," the low voice said through the door. The words came like a promise and a threat, married and had a child. "Whole city sleeps but us. We got time." Pastor leaned close to my ear. "You remember the old fire switch from before the remodel? The red bar by the elevator?" He nodded. "They never updated it. Pulling releases every door in the building and sets off the bell. Brings people, scares uniforms that ain't blessed by city payroll." He took a breath, looked me in the face like a coach and said, "On 3, we move. Stay low. If they grab you, drop. Dead weight. Scream like you got paid for it." "I can do that," I said, and surprised myself by believing it. We counted. We shoved the cabinet an inch, enough. We cracked the door. The hallway smelled like cold air and somebody's too sweet breath. A shadow stuck to the wall near the elevator, cap brim catching what little light the fluorescence dribbled. Another shadow hung back by the stairs. The far exit sign glowed red, a small square mouth yelling quietly. I ran. "Ma'am," the younger voice said, pleased, like the game had resumed. A gloved hand reached. I dropped. My knees hit concrete so hard I saw stars. The hand closed on my hood and slid off when the fabric gave. Pastor shoved his shoulder into a body that made an oof sound as human as a yawn. The elevator man's boot scraped and then planted. Someone grabbed my ankle. I kicked like a swimmer drowning in a shallow pool and felt my heel thud into a shin. A curse broke like glass. The switch was there, red and chipped. I slapped it down. The world inhaled and then all the bells on every floor yelped together. Sirens in small buildings are humiliating and honest. They tell everybody you need help. Lights stuttered. Water thunked in pipes, a prelude to sprinklers. Then the sprinklers opened like 1,000 tiny mouths. "Aw, come on," the younger voice yelled, and the older voice said a word that would have cost him a bar of soap at my grandmother's. Water changes rooms. People flinch from being wet even when they pretend they don't. Feet slipped. The gloved hand let go. Pastor grabbed my collar and hauled me like a duffel. We slid through the spray to the stairwell while the elevator man said, "No running," like a joke he'd tell later to someone who laughed too quickly. The upstairs door banged open and Jay's voice came down, full-throated. "Kendra!" Another voice with him, Mr. Ortiz from the bodega, I think, or maybe Mr. Harlan from the pawn shop. The block is full of men who say your name like they mean it. Boots on the stairs. A flashlight swung wild and landed square on a fake patch, crooked stitching shining on a black cap. "Hey," Jay barked. "You city?" The older one lifted a hand as if to ward off Bright. "We're contracted," he said. The younger one pulled his cap low, the tiny crosshatch catching light again like a signature. "Contract this," Mr. Harlan growled, and a bat thudded to concrete in a way that says, "We brought church to the basement too." Sneakers squealed. The boys did the math and didn't like the answer. They slid back, not running, never give us the satisfaction, but quick enough to leave their pretty elevator behind. By the time 2 actual uniforms arrived, blinking under the sprinkler rain, the basement was all wet concrete and donated hats and my Sharpie bleeding into a dark cloud on the table. The cops took statements. They looked at the fake patch and nodded in that way that means they've seen that brand of wrong. Groups, one said. Been doing this up and down the corridor. Seen the caps? Never catch 'em where they start, then catch 'em where they stand, Pastor said, eyes old and hot at the same time. Sir, the other cop said, trying not to smile. We're trying. They showed us stills from the camera at the side door. 3 frames of 3 men like brothers in the worst way. Same jacket, same chin tilt, different heights. One of them was Gable. Or he had Gable's shape put on like a coat. You learn quick how little difference there is once the elevator opens and someone says ma'am like it's a key. They left with wet shoulders and promises. We killed the water, mopped until the mop water looked like a bad mood, and stacked the chairs again. Pastor patted my shoulder exactly once, like a father in a movie who doesn't know how to do more. You did right, he said. Noise saves. Jay squeezed my hand hard enough to hurt. I told you no Batman, he muttered. I wasn't, I said. I was the alarm. He grinned, sharp, proud. Good. For a week, the basement smelled like wet cardboard and old fear. Every time a pipe ticked, I tasted sugar wrong in my mouth, the kind of sweet that isn't. I added a new label to the donation table, right under winter coats and shoes 8 to 10. It said, if you're scared, sit here, we'll walk you home. Pastor didn't argue. He added coffee. The elevator still works. We just don't use it after dark. The fake patch boys still walk, security jackets neat, smiles even, pockets light. We didn't end them. That ain't how life works. But the code made the rounds again. God is good. And the switch got a new cover you can yank even with wet hands. The block learned our bells. Mr. Harlan leaves his bat by the choir loft like a hymn. Sometimes I pass a man in a crisp jacket on the sidewalk and my mouth dries. My feet shift. My hand finds my phone like muscle memory. Sometimes he nods. Sometimes he doesn't. But the motion light over the church door clicks on when it should now, and the caps in the donation box have new stitching. Miss D's tiny cross in white thread where only your thumb can feel it. A different mark. A different math. I wish I could end with a courtroom and a sentence and a news crawl name. I can't. What I have is this. When I walk into that basement now, I pull the fire switch bar down and up once to hear that clean metallic click. I look at the elevator and I say out loud, not tonight. I check the stair light and the side door. I text Jay anyway. When fear says be quiet, I pick up the bell instead. And if somebody says ma'am in a voice that's too even for a Tuesday night, I don't explain myself to it. I make the biggest sound I can afford. I let the room answer back. And that's the end of tonight's story, sleepy soul. I swear to God, everything you just heard really happened. If it sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next chilling tale. Comment below where you're watching from and let me know what time it is. And if you have a story you'd like me to tell next, I'd love to hear it. Until next time, stay safe and maybe
Keep a light on tonight.